So you might have heard that energy prices are going up. In this video, I'd like to give you 18 tips how you can save on your energy bills without spending any extra money.
Show me the money.
And then extra 9 tips how you can save money on your energy bill if you want to invest a little bit of money in some of the tips or products that will save you much more money in the long run. Let's go. This video has been brought to you by FDUCE and their SL40 podcast microphone. The SL40 has versatile use cases. You can connect it via USB-C, XLR, and it also has a 3.5mm headphone jack in the back of the microphone for direct monitoring like this one over here. The volume, mic gain, and mute can be easily adjusted through the buttons on the microphone on the go when connected through the USB-C. It comes with an XLR and USB-C cables and adjustable bracket to fix to your stand. If you like how it sounds, go check it out in the video description below. Tip number 1. Turn off the lights when you leave the room or home.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally?
Every second those lights aren't on, you're gonna save money. Second tip, time your showers. Make sure you know how long to take showers and just reduce that time. I'm often guilty of that, being in the shower, thinking about my thoughts and then forgetting that I'm having shower, and then whoa, half an hour has gone past, but actually I don't need to have shower that long.
I hope I'm not being cross-examined here.
That's especially important for you if you're using electric showers. Tip number 3 is turn off the heating when you leave the house. You don't need to heat your house when you're not home. Tip number 4 is turn your water and heating temperature to an economical setting. So basically, don't have your water and heating temperature all the way to the maximum because that is not efficient. Turn them down to about 50 to 75% in the radiator temperatures, because roughly around there, that's when it's the most efficient, and around 40 to 45 or somewhere around there with the water temperatures, because heating the water any higher is not efficient for you, because you're just gonna have to mix the cold water in with the hot temperature to get a nice, temperature to wash your hands, for example. Then might as well turn it down. Just make sure that this, works with your lifestyle and how hot you want it. But if you can turn it down, it's gonna save you loads in the long run in the electricity bills. Tip number 5, turn down the heating by 1 degree. See if you can turn it down just by 1 degree and you'll see a massive reduction in the electricity or energy bills.
I think we're on the verge of a major climate shift.
If you can turn it down further, and you'll see even more. By heating your house 1 degree higher or lower is actually going to have a massive impact in your electricity bills and energy bills in the long run, depending which, energy source you're using. Tip number 6 is when boiling the water for tea or coffee or whatever, then only put in as much as you're going to be using. Don't fill the kettle up all the way to the top every time you boil it, because that's a huge energy that you're going to just be wasting. My kettle downstairs is 3.6 kilowatts. That's 3,600 watts. So basically that's equivalent of having 1,800 LED bulbs that I have in my living room on at the same time while boiling the kettle. So by reducing the amount, I'm just going to be having that time reduced, which means lower electricity bills for you. Tip number 7 is if you have furniture touching your radiators, then move the furniture just slightly away from the radiators and your radiators will be more efficient. Tip number 8, use your washing machine, tumble dryer and dishwasher during the night. Very often what happens is that you have a lower tariff for the nighttime electricity usage, which means that the same electricity you will be using during the night is cheaper. Just double check that with your provider if you're not sure, but most of the time it is cheaper to run all of those appliances during the night. Between 10 to 5 a.m. that's usually what they say. Tip number 9, charge your phone at work or in your car while you're traveling, because then you're not going to pay for it. I know you might be saying, but it's still in the car. Will my fuel economy go up because I'm charging the phone in the car? Not really. Tip number 10, draw the curtains at night before you go to sleep, because the curtains help you insulate the room from the cold draft that comes from the window during the night. Tip number 11, open the curtains during the day, because the sun heat will heat up the house when the sun enters into the house through the window. Tip number 12, unplug any of the chargers that you don't use or switch them off from the wall, because even the chargers are not in use, they can still use energy. Tip number 13, line dry your clothes if you can instead of using the tumble dryer. Number 14, double check if you're eligible for any benefits or grants. grants. Just go on Google and type in grants and benefits to help you pay your energy bill wherever country or whichever place you're, located, and then see if there's anything available for you. You never know, you might be eligible for even a little amount, but every little helps. Number 15, wash your clothes at 30 degrees or even lower, or just lower temperatures if you can. Number 16, bleed your radiators, take all the air out, because then they will be more efficient. Tip number 17, change your energy providers, because often new customers get a good discount or just a better tariff. Just see if you can get it cheaper from another provider. Number 18, go to the toilet at work, because then you get paid for going to the toilet.
Your Honor, would the court be willing to grant me a short bathroom break?
Or just go to the toilet every time you leave work, just before you leave work, and you basically get paid for going to the toilet. Now some tips here if you want to invest a little bit of money for some of these, tools or products that will help you reduce the energy cost in your home. Tip number 1 is window, door, and the letterbox seals. If you have loads of draft coming through your doors, windows, or letterboxes, then have a look or research some of the seals you can get for them, because that will massively reduce the cold air coming into your home. Tip number 2, change your light bulbs to LED bulbs, and that is a huge saving cost, and most likely, depending on your house size and what bulbs and how many you're using, you can make the money or the investment back in the first year of those LED bulbs usage. Tip number 3, if you're buying new appliances to your home, make sure that they are energy efficient. By spending maybe a little bit extra to get more efficient, either tumble dryer, dishwasher, oven, whatever you're buying, you can actually save loads in the long run when having more efficient appliance. Obviously here, don't fall into the trap of just buying a new appliance because your old one is not energy efficient. Most likely that isn't the best investment. Just wait for that to reach the end of its life and then buy a more efficient new appliance. Number 4, look into solar panels. Either buy them or look for grants, because sometimes even the government will want you to have solar panels and help you or give you grants to put solar panels on your roofs, which massively reduces your electricity bills. Number 5, make sure that your loft is insulated. If not, make sure you get some company or some guy come around to insulate your loft, unless you can do it yourself, because that will massively reduce your energy cost, because most of the heat, some people say around 35%, goes through the loft if it's not insulated. Number 6, stick a reflective panel behind the radiator, which helps you reduce the heat that goes through the wall or to the wall and reflects the heat back into the room, which makes the room warmer and makes the radiators more efficient. Number 7, use timers or smart switches to turn off the appliances that you're not using or are on standby mode. Basically, appliances that are still plugged in or off, for example, TVs or DVD players, PlayStations, so on, can still use up energy when they're switched off. So tip over here is to get some smart plugs or smart power blocks or extensions, or just timers that will switch off automatically or when you want, or you can schedule it basically when you're not using those products. For example, during the night or when you're away from home, you can set them to switch off, which means that over time you're going to save electricity on those switch off lights, appliances, other things like that. I'm going to leave some cheap smart plugs in the description below if you want to purchase any of those. Tip number 8, if you're building a PC for your creative use at home, if it's a home office or just for your gaming or whatever purposes, make sure that you buy a high-end energy efficient power supply, because the saving cost of electricity over time is going to be huge. Instead of 80 plus gold, try to go 80 plus platinum or titanium. That is especially important if you have a high-end workstation that uses a lot of power. So if your graphics card is very high-end, uses more power, and your CPU is very high-end, that draws a lot of power. So the more efficient your power supply is, the less power you're actually going to use by running just the same components. Now, that is only if you're building a new PC. If you already have a PC or have a power supply, then there's no real point of going from 80 plus gold to 80 plus platinum. That's not going to be a very efficient, way in terms of your finances. Rather, when you're buying a new system, then invest into that. And tip number 9 is buy yourself a pair of slippers. When your feet are warm, you are warm, and you don't need to put the heating so much higher in your house. Very little cost in terms of the investment, but very high return in your energy bills. So there we go. If you have any other tips, let me know in the comment section below, because I'd love